Good evening and welcome to the August 7th, 2023 Board of Education special meeting. The meeting is now called to order. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
I move that the agenda of Monday, August 7th, 2023 Board of Education special meeting be approved as set forth, and that each item is considered ready for discussion and/or action.
Is there a second?
Second.
This is a roll call vote.
Director Roundtree,
Aye.
Director Merschbrock. No. Director Garlock,
Aye.
Director Borcherding,
Aye.
Director Humbles,
Aye.
President Tominski.
Tonight we have a resolution supporting CRCSD's general obligation bond referendum. That is the only item on tonight's agenda. First, I'd like to thank John Galbraith and Dr. Grover for your leadership in getting us to this point tonight. In a moment, this board will vote on bond referendum language being considered for phase one of the comprehensive facilities plan, Building the Future 2037. It's worth noting the discussion about facilities began in this district in 2016. That's about 7 years ago. Those discussions quickly became focused on our elementary schools, where HVAC systems, ADA compliance, and collaborative learning environments showed some of our highest needs. That plan was approved by the school board in 2018. Our shared vision is every learner future ready. And with Dr. Bush's leadership and her passion, she championed a plan for all of our schools. And in November 2021, the first kickoff meeting was held to discuss our secondary schools. We believe that Dr. Bush would be proud of the continued leadership that has brought these plans together as the comprehensive facilities plan that we're talking about now, Building the Future 2037, which will renovate or replace every building in our district by 2037. Tonight we are talking about phase one of that plan. We have had several work sessions as a board and collaborative conversations in the community that will continue regularly. This work will require an even greater community effort, and working together for the benefit of our families is critical for our success. The district is paying attention. We are listening to the concerns and the needs of the community, and we will continue to have those conversations and work together as a community for our families. The $220 million bond referendum that's in front of us now will be a $2.70 increase on our levy rate, which means that a $200,000 home will see a $23.50 monthly increase in property taxes. Even with this increase, the Cedar Rapids community will be lower than 4 Linn County districts. What is in phase one and included in this bond referendum? A few things I want to call out. There is a school that's being talked about on the north side, a land acquisition and a new school. This is a middle school that would be a feeder into Kennedy High School. The current Harding site, as we've talked about in our work sessions and in the conversations we've had, is 15 acres, and we know that for that school, we're going to need 30 to 40 acres. So acquiring that land and building that middle school on the north side of town to feed into Kennedy High School is in phase one. Career and technical education, CTE, is another thing that is in phase one of this plan. This is for all of our high schools and will provide enhanced opportunities for all students, a plan, a pathway, and a passion. Something more than just a high school diploma upon graduation is what we've been talking about here in this district. New fields at all of our high schools. I think it's worth noting that this is not just for athletics, but it's for all students. It's for activities at these schools, fine arts, and athletic programs, but all students will benefit from these upgrades. We know that there's more work to do, but we believe that this is the right plan and the right path forward for our community. At this time, I actually want to take the time to read through the bond referendum language that is being proposed. This is a resolution supporting the Cedar Rapids Community School District's general obligation bond referendum. Whereas the Cedar Rapids Community School District, by and through its board of directors, wish to express support its endeavor in proposing a general obligation bond referendum to improve facilities, and Whereas to construct, build, furnish, and equip a new middle school building and acquire and improve the site. Renovate, remodel, repair, improve, furnish, and equip kitchen cafe spaces at Kennedy High School building. Construct, furnish, and equip career and technical education additions to Jefferson, Kennedy, and Washington High School buildings and related remodeling. Install turf fields and other site improvements at Jefferson, Kennedy, and Washington High School locations. Construct, build, furnish, and equip a gymnasium addition to Metro High School building and related remodeling. And construct, furnish, and equip in addition to and renovate, remodel, repair, improve, furnish, and equip Franklin Middle School building. Will help provide sufficient facilities to provide a 21st century education for district students. And whereas on the 7th day of November 2023, the eligible electors residing within the Cedar Rapids Community School District boundaries will have the opportunity to determine whether the Cedar Rapids Community School District should be authorized to contract certain indebtedness and issue certain general obligation bonds for the project. And whereas the Cedar Rapids Community School District, in order to provide funds for the project, is requesting the electors to authorize the school district to issue general obligation bonds in an amount not to exceed $220 million. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Cedar Rapids Community School District express their support for authorizing the school district to issue bonds in an amount not to exceed $220 million to provide funds to construct, build, furnish, and equip a new middle school building and acquire and improve the site, renovate, remodel, repair, improve, furnish, and equip kitchen cafe spaces at Kennedy High School, construct, furnish, and equip career technical education additions to Jefferson, Kennedy, and Washington High School buildings and related remodeling, install turf fields and other site improvements to Jefferson, Kennedy, and Washington High School locations, construct, build, furnish, and equip a gymnasium addition to Metro High School building and related remodeling, and construct, furnish, and equip in addition to and renovate, remodel, repair, improve, furnish, and equip Franklin Middle School buildings. This is the bond language that we are looking to vote on tonight. And again, this would be a vote tonight for a bond referendum that would appear on this November's ballot. With that, is there a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Is there going to be any opportunity for discussion or questions?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
So it's approved and seconded. Any further discussion?
Yes, I have a comment. I wish I was able to join the board last week. I was out of town on a pre-scheduled trip. The first comment I want to just make is the thrust of this whole discussion has been focused, in my view, on competing with other school districts in the metro and across the state even. And a lot of that is focused on sports. There was a time when the Kennedy football coach came out and said, he tried to explain away their playoff loss, saying we don't have the right facilities to compete with the suburban districts in Des Moines. And it's kind of a keeping up with the Joneses attitude. And while I understand that, and I've got to give Dr. Grover credit on this, keeping up with upper middle class suburban school districts in our metro, in Des Moines, across the state, across the country is great. And, of course, I want that for my children as well. And Dr. Grover has done a great job of bringing this, bringing up the concept of community schools. And, we talked a lot about our core neighborhoods, students living in the core neighborhood. There's persistent poverty in a lot of these neighborhoods, students living in poverty. We could talk about what percentage of students qualify for free and reduced lunch at which one of our schools. That's the conversation that this board should be having more of, in my opinion. We've had several years, it seems like, of discussion on this specific proposal, and there's nothing. We haven't even explored opportunities that we might have to partner with the city, to partner with other school districts, just to find a way to make investments that will address inequality within our district, within our community. Instead, we're saying, they've got really nice athletic facilities, in these other districts. And so shouldn't we have that too? Of course we should, but there's a lot of things. We always say what students deserve. There's a lot of things that students deserve. And so I just wanted to make that comment. I also wanted to ask, John, I haven't seen a cost breakdown on these projects in a while. We've kind of been at the point where we've got the list of projects, we've got the total amount, 220 million. Is there a document that's readily available for the public to say, of this 220 million, of this list of project, this much is going to this project, this much is going to this project? I assume you know those numbers, but I didn't see it last week. Did I miss something at the last meeting when it comes to that breakdown? Does anyone, I may have missed it, but. Was it presented last week when the board talked about it?
It wasn't on last week's board meeting, no.
I think we've got to be honest with the community, and part of being honest is getting all the information out there. And so if we're at the point now where we're just saying, here's how much we need, here's the things, we should break it down for people because people really need to know what they're investing in and what it's going to cost. And so along those lines, John, what's the cost on, I assume that Franklin renovation and the new middle school on the north side are the biggest ticket items on this proposal, is that correct?
Yeah, that would be correct.
What's the cost approximately on the Franklin renovation?
I'd have to look that up, Dexter. I don't want to misspeak
20
on that.
million, 30 million, 40 million? We
You're,
just talked about 50-some million for Roosevelt last week.
Yep.
Take the time to look it up.
Yeah, we understand the question, and I think it's a fair point, and we love to be able to share the breakdown. Just give us an opportunity to get it to you, so we're not guessing at the numbers. If you want to move on, while we can always circle
Yeah.
back. If you want.
Did you have any other comments, or?
Well, the other question was also about the Northside Middle School, the cost for that, and the site acquisition of that as well. So I'll just wait for those two real quick.
Yep. So for Franklin in today's dollars, we're at set just under $73.5 million.
70. What do we get for that 73 million at Franklin? We spent like, what, 2-3 million on windows there last year, is that right?
We did, correct.
So 73 million is a lot of money for a building that's already built. What do we get? I assume that includes a brand-new gym.
Correct.
There's already a gym at Franklin, but we need a new gym.
Yep.
What else do we get for that
Yep, so
73 million? How do you get to that total number?
Yeah, so Dexter, I'm not going to be able to answer all of those questions down into the very details. We're currently at a level for bond language, and this is very standard when school districts go through this, is we're not to those details. We don't have design solutions, but we go through and address the needs that are there. We have a list of the needs that will be addressed, but as far as what the specific spaces will look like, we're not to that level of detail
You know,
yet.
to my fellow board members, the reason I bring this up, we talk about poverty in our community. Everybody pays property taxes, whether you're a renter, whether you're a homeowner. Could we get a $20 million, a $30 million renovation of Franklin that would leave us with a very nice building with a lot of upgrades? Possibly. I really appreciated the conversation on ADA updates last week. What could we get for that amount? And then we wouldn't have to raise taxes for people who might not be able to make ends meet today even higher. So that's why I asked that question, and I think it's premature to move forward when we're not even willing to provide those details to the public. John, what's the cost on the new building and land acquisition combined?
Building and land acquisition combined would be 106.8 million.
Okay, so we're about 180 for those two items for a $220 million bond question. Everything else on there, especially, I mean, turf fields, I don't know if they're necessary, but I can see how practically they would help the high schools. You know, I talked to some people on social media about this. Someone immediately, and the Kennedy project, the cafeteria expansion wasn't listed. And they said, what about the Kennedy cafeteria? The other schools have had that. Doesn't seem like it's not going to be $40 million, probably $10 million. Seems like something we could put to the voters. And that it would be worth investing in, kind of sight unseen almost, you know, if it's needed. But those big ticket items are essentially, I mean, what's that, 70%, 75% of the cost of what we're doing? My last question, John, this is about neighborhoods. We've talked about neighborhoods. We talked a lot, or you guys did last week. I was happy to listen in about serving students where they are in the neighborhoods. This bond issue is part of our facilities master plan work, which if it's seen through to completion at this point, I think it will close 8 or 9 additional schools. And as far as I know, and I know the neighborhoods pretty well, those are all directly in neighborhoods, pretty modest, what I would consider working class neighborhoods in almost every instance. What neighborhood's going to be served by this new middle school on the north side?
What neighborhoods would the new
Yeah,
middle school
What
serve?
neighborhood is it going to be in the middle of a neighborhood?
So we don't have a location chosen for this yet. This middle school would serve the attendance area of the Kennedy High School.
What options for locations are we looking at? We need 30 acres. You can't find 30 acres unless they're going to give us Elmcrest Country Club. Where, I mean, we had a meeting recently where we discussed purchasing land.
That's closed. That was.
I'm letting the public know. We had a closed meeting where we discussed possibly,
That's against policy. You cannot do that.
it was a published meeting.
It was a closed.
I'm not talking about what we
No,
talked
no,
about. We had the
no,
meeting. We published that to
No.
the public.
No.
No, we published that there was a closed meeting, not the content of that meeting, which is what was confidential, and that was,
To discuss the purchase of land. It was published to the public. That's a fact. And now we're sitting here telling us we don't know what neighborhood this is going to serve. I'm telling you, neighborhoods are going to have their schools closed by this for $220 million. I'll stop now, but I don't think we should approve this. I think we should wait till next year, come up with a better plan.
Like to make a comment, if I may.
sure, Director Burchett.
I think this entire endeavor has been focused on fiscal responsibility for our community. Repairs are needed. The cost to replace buildings is less than the cost to maintain buildings where middle schoolers play basketball on auditorium stages. While there is some uncertainty in this plan, anyone who has built a house can tell you plans change. I like that there is flexibility to provide the best option for students as we move forward. There are some factors that remain the same. The cost of building is greatly outpacing the cost of inflation. The longer we wait, the more expense any improvement will be. Unfortunately, previous boards have not taken action on this item, and we are now forced to make a difficult decision. I will make a decision that positively impacts our students.
Any additional comments?
Yes, I would like to say that I agree with Director Borchening. It is time to go ahead and move this forward. Our staff and our students deserve for us to make this investment in making these buildings better and building new facilities. I was really, really touched this weekend when I was speaking with one of our teachers who have been in our district for 17 years. And when she expressed that she has to put a coat on in the wintertime to teach her class, that moved me to believe that it is absolutely, it was just one of the many reasons that moved me to believe that this is absolutely the right time. It is going to cost money, but it is costing us major dollars every single day to maintain these buildings that are not properly accessible for the people that we serve in our community. Our community deserves this. Our teachers, our staff, and our students deserve this. It is going to cost, but it is worth every dime that we are asking for to make this a better place for the community that we serve.
Appreciate the comment.
I would like to address Director Merschbach's comment about community schools before I talk about the actual bond issue before us. I do believe that Dr. Grover has a commitment to community schools. I think we, as a board, have been hearing about community schools for some time now. And I'm very excited to move forward with the idea of a community school. I would say that I think we can do both. I think that we can do facilities and continue our work with community schools. They are not mutually exclusive. We are able to do both things at once. Concerning the bond issue, I think it's important for all of us to remember this district's been very prudent financially. None of the previous boards have asked for a bond referendum for 23 years. We have not come to the community for additional funds for buildings for 23 years. And I guess I would just, if you're a homeowner, ask yourself what happens if you're not investing in your home for 23 years. At some point, you have to play a little catch up. And I think that's where we find ourselves now. I know that our kids deserve the absolute best that we can provide to them.
Absolutely.
And yes, we could probably do a lot of things cheaper, but is that what our kids deserve? And my answer to that is no, they deserve everything we can provide to them. Thank you.
And I would like to agree with all the directors. The time is now to do what needs to be done for our students, for our staff, and this community. So I am in agreement with our directors with their comments.
I'd like to make one last comment on the resolution we're approving here tonight. The third paragraph, the third whereas on the 7th day of November, it's just not true. There's all chance in the world that not enough people will sign a petition, and actually the question won't be before voters in November. So I don't know why we would approve a resolution that isn't even true.
Can we vote?
Yeah, so the resolution goes, to, obviously, there are signatures that are needed to put this on a ballot, so this would be the first step. And then the ballot, then the petitions would need to be signed. I believe that number is 6,319, if I remember correctly. And so that would be the next step to go before. But yeah, one final comment. I mean, it's beyond facilities at this point for us. I think that we know this is about staff retention. This is about families and the choices that they get to make. I see clearly this is not just about athletics. I hear the comments and certainly remember some of the same conversations. But, you know, even when we talk about turf fields, that's why I feel it's really essential to understand this is an outdoor learning space that is accessible to all students. When we heard stories about our bands practicing on a field when it's wet and the potential danger of that, not to mention our sports teams, but, you know, all of our fine arts and the different activities. So that's why I think it's essential, even if you're going to pull out that one piece, to understand how comprehensive I think we certainly believe this is. I just appreciate the leadership that's gotten to this point. These are really difficult decisions, but this is a bold plan, and I know I fully support it. So without further discussion, this will be a roll call vote, Ryan?
Director Roundtree. Director Merschbrock.
No.
Director Garlock.
Aye.
Director Borcherding.
Aye.
Director Humbles.
Aye.
President Tominski.
Aye. With no further business, we stand adjourned.